Good morning. I'm going to do something a little bit different today to analyze a call recording. I'm going to jump in and out of a call that I'm going to play. Instead of just playing it and editing it, I'm actually going to talk to you about the call as it's happening and kind of explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I asked a specific question, why I dug a little bit deeper here, talk about the objections, and basically kind of talk about the whole call so that you can get an even better understanding of it rather than just listening to it. And hopefully you'll listen to the whole thing. So this was a transfer that I got today. And the woman definitely had a need and a want for the insurance, but really was hesitant to move forward at the end. And so let's see how I overcame that objection. Hi, Regina. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Again, my name is Dana. I'm a licensed agent in Arizona, and I just have to start by letting you know that our call may be monitored or recorded today. And
Okay.
Are you wanting to look at some options to protect your family if you were to pass away?
Yes.
Okay. And were you possibly looking at this just for yourself or for anyone else as well?
Just for myself, but I just kind of want to leave something for my kids, you know?
Okay, sure. That's normal. Of course you do.
Because they're struggling already.
And what do you mean by struggling?
I mean, my 3 girls, they're struggling.
Okay, so let's pause there. Just because someone tells you that someone in their life is struggling and that seems obvious, the reason that I want to clarify, what do you mean by struggling, is because that allows the client to go even deeper and tell me exactly what's going on in her kids' lives and why they're struggling and how it's affecting them. And that is what will get those emotions more out of, deep down and into the surface so I can use those emotions as I'm going through my presentation.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that must be hard as a mom.
Yeah. They're always asking me for money, and it hurts my heart to have to say no because I don't have it.
Are you also living on a fixed income right now on Social Security or disability?
I'm on Social Security.
Okay. So I'm guessing you don't currently have any existing life insurance policies in place.
No, I don't.
Is that right? Okay. So before today, Regina, have you already been out there kind of looking around to see what was available for you?
Yeah.
What have you found?
I had one that wanted to charge me $139 a month.
For how much coverage?
$15,000.
Okay.
And it's like, are you kidding me? And then they're asking me all these health questions, and it's like, wow, that's crazy.
Have you ever had life insurance before?
Yes, I have.
And what happened to that one?
I couldn't pay it.
Okay, so did the price keep going up, or you just couldn't afford it anymore?
I just couldn't afford it anymore.
Okay.
And California has taken $150 out of my check every month.
For what?
They said that they overpaid me when I left there. So I was like, no, they didn't.
Okay, let's pause again. There's already a lot going on here, right? She has some pretty big concerns when it comes to what she's been quoted. She has some concerns with what she can afford. She also, I can already tell just in the first 2 minutes of this conversation, that she doesn't understand life insurance, that nobody's really taken the time to explain it to her. But I'm not jumping in yet as the hero and explaining that to her, right? All I'm doing right now is fact finding, getting as much information as I need, letting her talk, right? And figuring out her current situation, right? How long has she been searching? What has she found? Has she ever had it before? What happened to that policy? So that way I can use that information when it's appropriate. Okay, let's keep listening.
That's good, hopefully.
Yeah,
So when you had insurance before, Regina, how much coverage did that policy provide?
7,000.
Okay. Okay. And are you looking?
That was 43 something a month.
Okay. How long ago, how old were you when you got it?
This was just last year.
Okay. All right. Well, that gives me a good understanding of kind of where you're at for that. So, are you mainly concerned about your kids having to come out of pocket to pay for funeral expenses, or you really are more concerned about just leaving them something so they can kind of help pick up the pieces?
Both.
Both. And have you decided yet whether you want to have a cremation or a traditional burial?
I'm kind of on the fence about that. I'm not sure.
Well, if you're not sure, can I maybe offer you a suggestion?
Sure.
Okay. If the ultimate goal is to want to try to leave the most amount of money as you can in your three daughters' pockets, and you don't really have a preference for, religious or personal reasons, it is far more affordable to have a cremation, and therefore a significant more amount of money will stay in the pockets of your three girls.
Okay. Yeah, I had a son too, but he was murdered in 2015.
Okay, I want you guys to notice how I went about making that suggestion to the clients. If you learn one thing from this training video today, I want you to remember the phrase, can I make a suggestion? Right? Because when you just go out and tell somebody something and you act like, a know-it-all and here's what I think and this is why I think it's so great and, that isn't going to be as well received as if you ask permission to make that suggestion, right? Because if someone says yes, I'm open to hearing what you have to say, they're also going to be open to receiving that information too. It's not just coming at them, right? Like a truck. And you have to tread very lightly with people. They are vulnerable. They're scared of making the wrong choice. They're scared of getting taken advantage of, and they don't know what they don't know. So they are relying on people like us and you to guide them in the right direction. And even saying things like, can I make a suggestion? That is positioning myself as an authority. And now she's going to be open to receiving that information.
It keeps ringing in my head. The last words I said to him was, I love you. I want to be able to hug you, not bury you.
Right.
And I will never forgive myself for saying that. Because he was hanging around a bad crowd.
That makes. How long ago was that?
That was in 2013 when I said that.
Wow. Okay.
And
So that's been a while.
2 years later, this happened. And it breaks my heart. I keep thinking about that. It keeps ringing in my head. It's like, oh my God. Those are the last words I said to my son.
It probably just still feels like it was yesterday, huh? I mean, that can't ever time. That's something that time, unfortunately, can't make go away.
Yeah. And the day is coming up that he died, He died on Halloween night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's getting hard for me.
So, Regina, I know you've been thinking about this for a while. It's something that's been on your mind, and it sounds like you're really concerned about your three daughters. Have you thought about what would happen if you decided you couldn't find anything and you just didn't put anything in place?
Okay, I'm going to stop here. There's going to be a lot to unpack. I hope you guys have, a snack, because she is sort of a talker. And one of the things that my agents come to me with is, how do I get them back on the path when they just want to go into right or left field and talk about other things? And even though, her experience with her son's death is relatively relevant, I could have very easily continued to play into that, maybe share a story, from someone that I've lost, or asked her more questions about that. We could have easily sat there and talked about that for 20, 30 minutes. And I know for a fact that there are agents that would do that because you think that's developing rapport, but it's not. It's actually just going to make them exhausted by the end of the call. And you need to be streamlined and keep them on that path. And so I empathized with her. I said, that's hard. That's not how it's supposed to go. And then I got her right back on the path by asking her a question, but making it relevant by kind of expressing to her how everything that's going on in her life is possibly making her feel and how it's affecting her. And now asking her a consequence question, have you thought about what would happen if you decided you couldn't find anything and you didn't put anything in place at all? That's how you get someone back on track. You ask them questions.
My girls would not have the money to do anything. My sisters would have to step in.
Do you want your sisters to have to step in, though?
It might be better for my sisters to step in. They're more responsible than my daughters are. And it just, I'm so stressed I'm losing my hair.
I hear it. So if you're
I'm here taking care of my sister.
Yeah. I just have a quick question for you about your Social Security, Regina.
Mm.
Is that money being directly deposited into a bank account, or do they put that money on a direct express card?
No, in the bank account.
Okay. Has your bank ever offered you any sort of coverage before?
Any what?
Any sort of coverage before?
No.
No? Is it a credit union?
So here I'm trying to figure out, obviously, whether or not my customer has a bank account. I don't want to get too emotionally attached and invested into this conversation if at the end of the day I'm not going to be able to help them. I know there are companies that will take direct express cards and debit cards, and to be honest, Lincoln Heritage does. But if you look at the persistency scores and compared to checking accounts, I think the persistency score for debit cards and direct express cards is like 30 or 40%, whereas checking accounts are 80% plus. We are here to write business, but we're here to write good business, right? We want business that stays on the books. And unfortunately and statistically, direct express cards and debit, cards, prepaid cards, they just don't. So I personally choose not to write them. If that would have happened, I would have empathized with her situation and maybe asked if her sister had a checking account that we could use, but I probably would have ended that call and, maybe even scheduled a follow-up call if it was necessary. But I did identify that she does have a checking account, so we're going to continue.
Some policies as well. So, excuse me, I think what you might be really confused about, because life insurance can be confusing if you don't have someone kind of explain it to you. The last person that you spoke to that gave you the quote for the $15,000 at $139 a month, did they explain to you the difference between term insurance and whole life insurance?
No.
Okay. Is it okay if I explain that to you?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pour out on you.
That's okay. You're going through a lot, and sometimes it's nice to have a sounding board to, just be able to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
That's a lot for anyone to go through.
But you don't want to be there for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It sounds like a movie
Um,
almost.
I can actually do a horror story of my life.
Oh my. Um, so term insurance is temporary life insurance. And those are the ones that you typically see advertised online or in the mail that'll say, you know, seniors get 20,000 of coverage for $9.95 a month from like Colonial Penn or AARP. Do you ever see stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are perfect examples of companies who are advertising their term insurance, which those only last for so many years and then they cancel.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, they advertise that the rates never go up.
So how it's
Is
advertised,
it?
kind of tricky. It's in like multiple sentences where one doesn't really have anything to do with the next.
Yeah, I mean that's false advertisement.
I know.
Or is it in fine print that you don't see it?
Well, for example, like the Colonial Penn ones, those advertisements are in two separate sentences. So they'll say get 20,000 of coverage, period, and then the next sentence will say rates starting at $9.95 a month, and then when you call to find out what that is, it actually ends up being $9.95 per unit, which a unit at Colonial Penn is $1,000. So you would qualify for $1,000 for $9.95 a month. If you wanted 20,000, you would need 20 units. So that would be $200 a month for 20,000. Yeah, and your rate will never go up.
Yeah, good Lord.
Right? So that's too much.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So when you're looking for a policy, you want to make sure you get what's called a whole life policy, which is permanent. It can never be canceled unless you can't make the payments anymore, and the price can never go up. So you can always budget for that and count on that being the payment every month. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So
whole life is what I'm looking for, not term life.
yes, ma'am. Yes, you got it. Whole life is what you're looking for. The other thing, too, is when you apply for a whole life policy, you don't have to start it the day you apply. So if we were to find something that you thought felt comfortable for you, we could apply today to make sure that you're approved, but you wouldn't have to make a payment until, you know, when you get paid next, which is probably not till like the 3rd of next month. Is that true for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Unless you happen to be able to budget for it this month, but that's something that I always want to make sure my customers know.
Okay, let's talk about that. So I know a lot of people try to push for immediate draft, and I understand why you would want to do that. Obviously, the faster you get paid, the faster your customer pays, the faster you get paid, the more likely the policy will go into effect because, you know, you're getting your money before the other bills. But you have to really judge and handle every situation differently. I'm trying to tread lightly here and I'm trying to overcome objections before I get them. I have a feeling at this part in the conversation that she won't be able to make a payment right now. And so what I'm trying to do is plant the seed that, hey, it's okay. I don't need any money from you today, but we still do need to take that next step and apply. And I haven't even, given her any quotes or pricing yet. Of course, well, I'm just trying to make her feel really comfortable, make her feel really safe. And when we do get to that point, that, hopefully she moves forward with that application with me, and hopefully she can make that payment when that time comes. But I'll probably set a calendar reminder to check in on her and remind her to make sure the money's there. Okay, back to the call.
At least half of the money you get between the two of you, right?
That's over.
Yeah.
Pearson is really expensive to live in.
It is.
Yeah.
In order for me to figure out what you
I should just make a quick note here that I just cut out a bunch of stuff in the middle of the presentation because I was talking about Lincoln Heritage specifically and some of the other benefits and features that this policy can provide that other carriers cannot. So I don't really think it's super relevant for this training call in order to maybe help the masses. And so I've cut out a bunch of stuff and we're moving on to the health questions.
I do need to ask you just a few health questions, okay? Because I want to make sure that I'm giving you accurate rates. So have you used any tobacco in the last 12 months?
I do smoke.
Okay, no problem. From the smoking, has it ever turned into any lung disease like COPD or emphysema?
I do have COPD.
Okay.
But it's not a severe case.
But it's on your medical records, and have you been prescribed an inhaler to manage it as needed?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any other health conditions you might be concerned about?
I have a cyst on my brain.
Oh, that's okay. Is it benign or is it cancerous?
It's benign.
Okay. Does it affect you cognitively in any way?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't need any special help.
Okay, good. So here's the thing, Regina. Before I give you some quotes, I want to just kind of talk to you about your current situation with your health.
But before we do, I do want to preface that on the Lincoln Heritage application, we do have about 10 or 12 health questions. And as long as she's not uninsurable, which she's not, I don't necessarily need to ask all of them because I already know she's going to be modified because she has COPD. So you can't get more modified, if that makes any sense. She could answer yes to all the other health questions and it's not going to change her situation. It's not going to change her rate. So I will leave the rest of the health questions to teleapp when I conference her in and do the recorded version of the application. But this is me just trying to humanize the conversation and not be so scripted and so robotic. Okay, back to setting expectations.
COPD is a condition that causes the insurance companies to consider you a little bit higher risk. And so what I want to know is, are you open to really any amount of coverage that you can leave for your kids to help ease the burden, or does it have to be a certain amount?
Well, just more than 15,000.
Say that again?
More than 15,000 for, a budgetable amount.
Okay. So what I'm here to share with you, we're not going to be able to find a permanent policy for 15,000 or more that's going to fit within a comfortable budget for you.
Really?
No.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that I
know you guys just want to hear what I have to say, but I really think it's important to stop and explain. So if you haven't already figured out, what I'm doing here is, again, overcoming another objection that I already know I'm going to get, right? She already got quoted $140 for 15,000. She already told me that was unaffordable. I already know she was quoted whole life for a modified plan. That's not going to change no matter how many companies she calls. And so it's my job to take that extra step that other people just won't take and give her a little reality check, right? And make sure that she understands what her situation is and what is actually available to her, and that she isn't going to find what she's looking for. And if she continues to search, she will be searching until she passes away with nothing. And so where most agents, I think, fail to take that journey, they just go right into the quotes. Well, okay, you want 15,000, well, here's your price. Or they might, just give an option for 5, 10, and 15. But if you don't take that journey first, then all she's going to hear is the price for 15. She's going to say it's too expensive. She wants to think about it. And there you go, your call's done. You will have not converted this lead. So it is very important that you pay attention to the steps I'm about to take with her.
Continuing to get frustrated because you can't find what you're looking for, and then something happens to you and you pass away and your girls are left with nothing because you just were searching and searching to these dead ends. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if the ultimate goal is to at least make sure that they don't have to come out of pocket and pay for your final, funeral, and maybe just leave them a little bit extra. I mean, there are places in your area where they can get the cost of cremation to $1,000, which isn't a lot compared to a traditional burial, but $1,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Right? So what I'm going to be...
this day and age.
Oh, for sure. And so what I'm going to be recommending to you is possibly looking at a $5,000 policy or less, so that if they take $1,000 out of that to pay for the cremation, they're each left with at least $1,000 to, do whatever they need to do, whether it's just to pay some bills or clean up your, pay to help clean out your other half of the house with your sister, so that they have something, right? And whatever you can afford to give them is all you can do. And that's okay, because it's going to put you in a better position than you're at now, which is you don't have anything.
Right.
Okay, so one thing I am going to add to your quote is some additional coverage if you do happen to pass away from an accident, because this will provide them a significant amount of insurance. So if you do happen to pass away from an accident, Regina, we will pay them $25,000 on top of your insurance policy, whatever that is. If you pass away from a car accident, we'll pay them an additional $50,000. And if you happen to pass away from like any sort of public transportation, if you ever take a bus or a taxi or an Uber or a train or any sort of public transportation like that, I know that's going to be more rare, but if that does happen, they would get an additional $100,000. We also would pay $100,000 if you happen to pass away from any sort of acts of war or terrorism. So that's all included in these quotes, which is life-changing. If that were to happen, we don't know how we're going to pass, right? No one knows the day or the hour or how it's going to happen. So
God will take us when He's ready.
When and how, and we can't, we just can't predict that. So I'm going to give you quotes for $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000. And they all include that additional accidental coverage. And, this isn't my first rodeo, Regina, so I have a pretty good idea of what's comfortable for my families. And I think one of these might work. So a $3,000 policy with that accidental coverage is $36 a month. A $4,000 policy would be $45. I kind of like that one because $1,000 would go to the cremation and each of them would get $1,000 apiece. Or there's a $5,000 policy for $55. You like any of those?
I'd have to think about it.
Okay, so her first reaction is normal. I'd have to think about it. And before I hit play, I want you to sit here for a moment and I want you to think about how you would respond to this person. What would you say? Be honest with yourself. How would you respond to I want to think about it after everything you've heard? And I know you didn't hear the whole call, but you heard enough. So what would you say? Don't unpause it until you have your answer.
Right.
So if you had to pick one today, which one do you think you would choose?
I would go with the 4,000.
I kind of like that one too. So do you think you would need longer than 2 weeks to think about it?
Probably because my girls are in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And they're scattered. I'd have to try to get a hold of all three of them.
For what reason? Why would you need to get a hold of them?
So that we can talk about what to do here.
Well, how do you think they would feel about you putting something in place to protect them from having to come out of pocket when you do pass?
I don't know.
You don't.
Why I kind of want to. I talk to my girls about everything.
What will you do, Regina, if you go to them and they tell you they don't want you to put something in place for them? What will you do then?
Then I'll put it in place for my sisters.
So no matter what they say, you're wanting to put something in place for someone.
Yes.
Okay. Well, can I make a suggestion then?
Mhm.
So it seems to me that even if your kids pose this idea, that you're still not wanting to put your sister in a position to have to come out of pocket and pay for at least your cremation costs. Am I hearing that right?
Exactly.
Okay. So then why don't we at least apply for the 3,000 so your sister at least doesn't have to come out of pocket and pay for your cremation or other final expenses like transportation costs when you do pass. And if you talk to your kids and they decide you want to have a little bit more, you can always call me back and we can increase it. But remember, nothing's going to start until November. Would that maybe be more of an appropriate solution for you?
I don't know. I'll have to call you back in.
Objection number 2 or 3. I can't keep track right now. But I got her to say that even if her kids oppose the idea, she's still going to get it because she doesn't want to leave her sisters holding the bag. But now we're struggling with something else, and I have to figure out what that something else is. So let's continue.
I'm gonna push it to 3 weeks.
Okay. Well, we can push it to. We can actually go as far as 45 days.
Let's do that.
Okay. So 45 days would be. Let me see. November. I can actually go out as far as December 3rd. You want to skip the whole month of November?
Yeah. We'll
Yeah?
go to December.
Okay, yeah, we'll
December
go into
3rd.
December then. Okay, perfect. And do you want to start with the 3,000 then?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
All right. So I know it's not ideal to push someone out that far, but it's still far better than leaving that call with not an application at all. And I can almost guarantee that anybody else that she talks to, she's not going to give the time of day. And I'm going to skip the application. I'm going to skip, the underwriting call because that's really not relevant to this. And also it's of course her personal and sensitive information. But I do want you to hear what she says at the end and why I do what I do. So let's hear how this call ends.
Okay, Regina, hang on the line with me.
Okay.
Perfect. So that's great news. That means that your application was approved.
Oh, cool.
But because we're not starting anything till December, right, I'm going to send everything over to you by email so you have something to look at when you're talking to your family about it. And if you decide you want to make any changes before it starts, you have my direct contact information, and I'll be here to help you do that. But doesn't it feel good to take that first step and put something in place to protect your family?
It does. It kind of lifted a weight off my shoulders.
I kind of feel that weight too.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. I know this is, not an easy thing to do, and I'm happy that I was able to help you do that. And again, we're not starting anything for like a month and a half, so you have plenty of time.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome, my dear, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
God sent you to me for a reason.
That's one of the nicest things you could have said to me today. Thank you.
You're awesome. I'm crying. You're so awesome.
Oh, that's so nice. That literally just made my day, and just, confirmed that, that this is why I love what I do, to help people like you and put you in a better place than you were before we got on the phone.
God put you in that position for a reason, and this is it.
That's very sweet.
Okay, so that goes back and forth for like another minute. I'll save you. But so that's it, guys. It's not rocket science. It's being human. It's being able to connect. It's being able to ask the right questions. It's being able to dig deeper when you get answers. It's, being able to help people get out of their own way and take that next right step. And people are paralyzed. They are literally paralyzed in fear of making the wrong choice. You don't go through 60, 70 years of your life without being pitched life insurance. So, what are you going to do to stand out and make that difference for your customer? Tell me in the comments. I want to know what you're going to do today to make your conversations better. Guys, this is why I do what I do. I want to hear from you. Thank you for listening, and I hope this helps.